Well, thank you so much for joining me in conversation today, Teresa. And if you don't mind just sharing with all of us who you are, what you do normally, and then what you've been doing during the pandemic.
Sure. So my name is Teresa Vanderboom, and I am a nurse practitioner. I work at Mass General Hospital in Boston. And in my normal job, I work in a very subspecialized area, a component of the radiology department. So it's actually even a subspecialty within radiology called interventional radiology. And then within that, I work with a very unique group of patients who have a lot of pain. So a lot of elderly patients, a lot of cancer patients actually who have pain in their spine related to compression fractures. So basically broken bones in the back. And so these are very interesting and fun, challenging patients to work with. And then I also work with a little bit of patients on the vascular side as well. So we do basically all our procedures are done using image guidance. So it's a procedural based practice. So that's my normal job, and I work with another nurse practitioner. We have a small little practice, work with 2 or 3 doctors or so, and I run the clinic, and we see patients in-house. We do consults, so it's very fun practice. I've worked there for many years, so it's been great. So with the COVID happening, our procedures are really not happening because it's considered an elective procedure, even though our patients are in pain. And they're in significant pain. So as you can imagine, a broken bone hurts. A broken bone in the spine is particularly painful, and it can be very devastating and debilitating. And with a lot of our patients who have cancer, who develop these broken bones, they have a lot on their plate, and to deal with pain in their back is just not a great thing to go through. And then a lot of our elderly patients who have osteoporosis and have broken bones in the back, that's very disabling and quite debilitating for them as well. So that's been hard because we're not doing these procedures and it's considered elective. So our work kind of scaled back a great deal, as it did in the rest of the hospital. And then when COVID started to ramp up, we didn't know what was going on. There was a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of thinking maybe it'll just be a few weeks. We'll just postpone procedures by however long it takes, and we'll get people back in. And we quickly found out that wasn't going to be the case. And then everyone's talking about how to prepare for the COVID surge and whatnot. So they were looking for volunteers to help staff the floors and the ICUs and the ERs, and they had COVID clinics set up, respiratory clinics set up. They had all kinds of amazing things going on for people to serve. And I felt very compelled in a way to do that. And I chatted with my coworkers, and with their blessing, it was felt that was okay for us to do, that the job could be handled on the back end from those staying behind. And then I would be able to take a break from my regular job and go forward. And so I was deployed, I guess you should say, to a floor, so to a COVID floor. So that's where I worked for the last, I'd say probably about a month or so. Did a series of shifts working on a COVID floor as a responding clinician. So it was a whole new experience.
Wow, I can imagine. Yeah. And so what was it like working on the COVID floor?
So I went into it feeling anxious and frightened, because we all had, we're all afraid of COVID. Everyone is. And the hospital, like I told you, was just preparing for this infection, how to deal with this problem. And I didn't know a lot about it. And so I was scared, I was nervous. I did a lot of research. The resources that Mass General set us up with were incredible. So once I kind of got all that information, and I kind of figured out where I was going and what I would be doing, because there was a lot of anxiety about that. Like, am I going to the ICU? Am I going to the ER? Those were places that I would have felt more uncomfortable with. But when I found out I was going to a floor, I was like, okay, let me wrap my head around this and use the resources that they gave me, which, like I said, were fabulous. So that really helped. So going in, I felt, okay, I can do this. I'm never going to be alone. And sure enough, I wasn't. It was phenomenal. They had great system, great organization. So basically I was with a team, I was on a team of 3 people. It was myself, another physician, and an attending physician. And basically we got our assignment. We had 3 or 4 patients or so to work with. and we kind of dealt with all the problems that came up. And working with the nursing staff was phenomenal.
Mhm.
They're with the patients the most,
Yeah.
so they're going in and out many times a day. Social workers, the entire team. And what was so great about it all was that these nurses on this particular floor I was on, this is a surgical floor.
Mhm.
So these are patients who, or these are nurses who are used to dealing with patients who are post-surgical, or they come in with traumas. So they're not used to medical patients, or they're not used to patients dying, and the whole setting was so different for them. But they were great, and we all learned together. It was a really nice experience.
That's amazing to
Yeah,
hear. And it's so great to hear that you felt that camaraderie and that kinship with your coworkers to be able to go through that together.
absolutely. Yeah, it was a great experience overall, and such a scary situation, and where everyone was feeling out of their element for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure. Yeah. And so, as your church family, how can we be praying for you and praying for all your colleagues and praying for all of your patients? Is there anything in particular you think
Yeah.
you want to lift up?
No, I think just kind of continue. And I think there's definitely unique situations. Every patient is different, obviously. Every patient has their own fears and challenges, and some patients do really well who have the COVID. Some, unfortunately, as we know, don't do well. Some have very scary situations. They get sent to the ICU very quickly. They can decompensate very fast, and those are very scary situations. All patients, that being said, don't have their family with them.
Mm,
So this is in fact true, where visitors are not allowed in the unit. So you have to show your ID. You have, to enter the building, you have to show your ID, and you have to fill out an online little questionnaire if you have symptoms, and you show that, and then you get your mask and on you go. So it's very quiet in the hallways. There's really nothing going on. So for those patients, it's lonely. They
mhm.
basically sit in a room all day. If they happen to have a phone to call their family, or they can FaceTime and whatnot. But I had a patient who had been very sick in the ICU, who's from out of town, and he had no way to contact his family.
Oh, mm,
And that was very hard. So we're going out of our way. People are using their personal phones, and we're FaceTiming family members from our own phones.
mhm.
The hospital is providing iPads and things like that. So I think that loneliness is a big factor, and just general fear. So thinking about praying for those situations are important. But then I also think about the patients who are kind of left behind. So I think about my patients that I normally take care of, who have pain, and patients who are awaiting procedures, patients who have cancer, who are undergoing treatments. And those patients I worry about, where I'm like, what's happening to them? Yeah, they're connected to their healthcare providers, but um, they have to wait. A lot of times we just are telling them, like, just wait, until we get the clearance, we can start doing procedures. We can't help you. And we're opening the door for very select cases. It's a very, very delicate situation, I think. So it's those people that I worry about as well.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Well, we will definitely be praying for them and for all of your patients who have pain and have cancer and have these fractures, especially all the patients who are left behind. That's really helpful to hear so that
Hmm.
we can be channeling our prayers and energy to them and just keeping them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of
Oh my gosh.
your story. And
My pleasure.
we have been praying for you and supporting you, and we're so honored to just have you as part of our church family and to just be lifting you up right now. So just
Oh,
know that
thank
you've
you.
got a whole community behind you, rooting for you and praying.
I feel it. Thank you.
Good.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop recording now.